what do you think are the best tools for an agent who's looking at getting into the luxury market?
Right. Well, first of all, you're exactly right. A lot of Asians sit on the sidelines of luxury real estate, in particular, thinking that they had to be born rich or well connected to break in. And there's a thing that I call the big O, the big O. And that's the big objection that paralyzes some agents. And that objection is, so Sherry, how many $1 million homes have you listed? How many $1 million homes have you sold? How many homes have you listed in Buckhead? How many homes have you sold in Indian Creek? What's it called? Indian something? Yeah. And you know the answer is 0. And so you don't know how to answer that. And so you don't want to go and have that appointment. And what I tell agents is that, and I learned this from doing it myself, is that hit it head on. I have never sold $1 million house before. I've never listed a home in Buckhead over $1 million. But here's what, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I plan to break into this market, and I plan to make my mark on this market on the listing and sale of your property. In fact, this can be the last thing I think about every night before I go to sleep, and the first thing I think about every morning when I wake up. I'm going to make my mark on the sale of your home. In fact, I pledge to you that I will not take another $1 million listing at all or in your neighborhood until we have an accepted offer on your house. Let me ask you this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. How does it feel to have somebody this driven, this motivated, this just driven to get your property sold? So you have to understand that the people you're competing with have 6 or 12 luxury listings, and they have a sense of entitlement that comes along with that. And they're probably not even showing the properties themselves. They're delegating it. So if you go in there with that approach, especially with a self-made person, this works less successfully with second and third generation wealthy people, but with self-made people, they will see a little bit of them in you, and they will take a chance. You need to find that maverick in the market who's willing to take a chance on the agent who's audacious, who's driven, who's hungry, and who really wants to make it happen, and who will give them that personal one-on-one attention that they crave in all aspects of their lives.
You know, the phrase, you'll always miss 100% of the shots you don't take comes to mind, right? To put it into basketball.
Nothing's 100%.
No, and you think about it, you know, somebody's got to be the first, right? You got to go in there, and someone is going to be your first $1 million listing, or your first $5 million listing, or your first $30 million listing, or whatever. And here's the end of the deal. These guys put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you and me. They're people just like you and me. There's nothing extraordinary about these people. Yeah, they've done some extraordinary things, but the reality is they're people, and you don't need to be afraid of them.
And that's the thing that I've learned, because I grew up very modestly, single mom and all that stuff. And so it took a while for me to figure that out, but I still have a hard time. I still have more of a challenge with second and third generation wealthy people, because I'm not sure why that is, but it's much easier to connect with people who did it on their own. They're more, and I think anyone who's breaking in is going to have an easier time breaking in with them. But when I come back to before, when you said getting started, what else could an agent do to get started in this market? And that is really focusing on the gatekeepers, because they are your ticket to getting to the wealthy people in your marketplace.